Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He is ranking member of the bipartisan House task force that was set up after the July assassination attempt. Thank you very much for being on the show this morning. I'm wondering what updates, what amendments, what changes need to be made to former President Donald Trump's security at this point, if any, do you think?
Well, I have to just say outright that I condemn this and any violence. There's just no place for political violence in America. We should settle our debates with debate and discourse, not with violence. And you shouldn't have to be a Democrat or a Republican or independent or anybody to condemn that. It's just unacceptable. So it's unclear right now. We're gathering facts. Our task force received a preliminary briefing by the Secret Service yesterday. We're going to receive another one. We've asked for a classified briefing this week for our members to get an update on this incident. The scope of our task force was limited to investigating the Butler, Pennsylvania incident, so it's unclear whether or not we will be given the authority by Congress to expand that to this incident. But already a month into our investigation, we've identified a number of issues that failed in Pennsylvania. That is from perimeter security to coordination with local law enforcement to a lack of communication to coordination between campaign staff and local law enforcement and Secret Service. So there were a lot of things that went wrong there. And it's just too early to tell whether or not those same issues were at play here or not.
Well, and it does seem, and this is for you, Congressman, but it's also for people listening, there have been, unfortunately, comparisons between not securing the border in Butler, which was the worst.
The perimeter.
Perimeter. The worst failure I've seen in a long time with the Secret Service. And comparing it to this, well, this is not like Mar-a-Lago. We had State Attorney from Palm Beach County saying Mar-a-Lago is insular. It's easy to shut things down. This is a golf course, easy to contain. This is a golf course that has two major roads going past it. And I have often thought as I drove past it, wow, that is difficult to secure. But here,
it's next to a jail.
Yeah, but here, doesn't it bear repeating that the Secret Service actually did what they planned to do? They found somebody several holes ahead of the president while they were going to secure the location, saw somebody and fired at them and did their job.
Yeah, it's very possible that's what happened. And, to your first point, there are people who are always going to draw connections or to try to bring politics into a certain issue and make this connected to some other policy issue when it's just, not appropriate and there doesn't seem to be any tie in doing so. So what we have to look at is what were the protocols and were they followed? That's the first step. And if they were followed, then the second question is, are those protocols and is that security actually sufficient in the environment that we're in right now? Because even if they did follow the procedures and they do what they were supposed to do, we are in an environment of heightened threats across the board, right? After July 13th incident on President Trump, President Biden ordered the full complement of security on both Vice President Harris and former President Trump at the same level that a president would receive. So that is the level they're receiving. The question is that enough in the environment that we're in?
Yeah, and Congressman, we, of course, are just 50 days to the election. Let's get you to weigh in on the political rhetoric that's that is sort of heightened in tensions in the air, even if we don't know precisely what motivated either of these shooters. And beyond that, just your concern that someone like this, a lone wolf, as was the case in Pennsylvania, not part of any sort of established network, that those are the kind of people who could slip through the cracks.
Yeah, lone wolves, as you say, that remains one of our biggest threats because they're very hard to detect. It's very hard to determine, who's serious versus who's just, spouting out on social media. That is a big threat, and that is a domestic terrorism threat that the FBI continues to really struggle with. But listen, the environment here is just heightened across the board, and that's why making sure that our elected officials, people that have a platform, are very clear in their language. And they're very clear that violence is never the answer. It couldn't be more important right now. And that's not to say that we're not going to have tough debates, right? Me and Chairman Kelly, the chairman of our task force, we meet and we talk regularly. And we've been very clear that we're going to condemn violence as a group. at the same time as we're going to have rigorous, sometimes really tough debates in this election cycle. We can and we must figure out how to do both, right? Because there's very consequential, very important things on the ballot here, and this is a tough election cycle, and we have to be able to show that we can do both of those things, that we can have a tough debate, but draw that firm line and never accept violence.
All right, ranking member of the task force on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. Thank you very much for being on this morning.